Hey, brother.
Hey mate, how are you?
I'm really well. I'm so jealous of your blue sky and sunshine there. Sydney's not behaving today.
Oh, for real? It's usually the other way around. So this is a rare moment indeed.
Yeah, take it while you can.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing good, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Are you recovered from the national tour?
Yes, yeah, recovered from that. It felt like it was just way too short, especially with the Power Dust boys. It was just like we're having
They're
such
the
a good
best.
time, like
Yeah.
instantly, and it was like, wow, I could really do like 4 weeks on the road with these guys, but three nights in and out was like a bit of a tease. So I think we'll have to
Okay.
tee up a more of a world tour, and that was very much the discussion. It was like, yeah, we got to tour a whole lot more, and
I would love to see that world tour. Here's the thing, though. I feel like, and this is not to blow smoke, but also a little bit, everyone that knows you loves you. You guys are very likable. So I feel like every band you tour with must be like, should we tour the world together?
I mean, it happens not every time, but like it's a two-way street, and I feel like there's getting along, and then there's really getting along, and I think it's like when you can travel with your best mate and realize like, oh, like it really brings out things that
Yeah.
you never discovered before. And I think that's an element about touring that, yeah, maybe people don't understand. It's like you could have the same style of music, you could be from, same background, whatever. But then when it comes to touring, there are just things that just don't click. Whereas with Paradise, it was just that we skipped a few chapters and it was like we were just on immediately. And you kind of, after you've toured for a while, you pick up on those signs of like, no, this actually would work. This isn't just some fantasy of like, oh, we should tour the world together. It's like, no,
It
that's
would
actually
actually
a
work.
viable thing. Yeah.
I think that's okay. So I'm just going to jump to this question. This is normally a fun one at the end. Build me your dream lineup. I want four bands
Ooh.
and yourself that
Yeah.
you would love to tour the world. Not necessarily because it makes sense on paper, but I just think it would be
Mm.
you would love to do that tour. Build me
Hmm.
build me a five band lineup. You guys are headlining.
Five band lineup. Oh, and we're headlining.
Yeah.
I
As I said, it
mean,
doesn't make sense on
doesn't have to
paper, but
make
just
sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I reckon, well, cross Crossfaith and Pale Dust both would be on there. I think
cool.
two Japanese bands on there would just be lethal. Don Broco,
Of
and that's
course.
another band that we've definitely discussed.
Yeah. Yeah.
We could tour the world with. So that's yeah, Pale Dust,
You got two
Crossfaith,
more.
Don Broco, Ocean Grove. That's four. Is there a fifth one
No, no.
or
Yeah,
two
yeah.
more after that?
Two more after that.
Okay. Um, North Lane and hmm, first you got to go with the big one. Bring Me the Horizon.
Great. Yeah, good. I love that
I
you're
feel like that
headlining
would be
over Bring Me the Horizon too. Very good.
yes, exactly. Yeah, of course.
Did you get down and see their show when they played earlier this year? Bring Me
I
show?
did. Yes, I caught it twice.
Did
Yeah.
that for me, that just was like, oh, this is a production. This is like a show. From an artist perspective, that inspire you to be like, I want to do cool shit? Or was it just like, well, they've done it all and now I can't do anything? Because I feel like people could have two responses to that one.
It's a bit of both of those. I think it's definitely there's often moments where I'm watching from the sidelines of what Bring Me's doing and thinking, damn, I've always wanted to do that. And now they've done it. And it's like,
Yeah.
it doesn't, someone else coming along and doing it, it's just not going to have anywhere near the same amount of effect as that will doing it for the first time. And so, hats off to them because they're just pioneers in so many ways. And that show really was just like setting the benchmark of production and visuals and live show.
It's the whole story
Uh,
that came into a thing.
well, yeah, it really was such a level up, and that I think they just do that every time. They put on
Yeah,
a
agreed.
massive world tour. It's just they just level up every time, and it's like wow. Just when you thought they couldn't kind of do any more, it's just not just showcasing what a heavy band can do, but just showcasing what any band or artist can do. It's like wow, this is where technology's kind of come to. Like this is
Yeah.
crazy. Like I wonder what the
I think
next 5 years
the
will bring.
it takes a special kind of artist to have the storytelling capabilities there though, to go like, okay, here's the music, but here's the greatest story we're telling you because they're going on this like journey with their albums at the moment. It makes sense. Like I know like Taylor Swift, for example, puts on an incredible performance, but because she's a performer, it's not necessarily telling a story. It's just like, oh, that was really fun to watch. Whereas they've got an entire story there. You guys are a bit of a
Mm.
concepty sort of band, so I can see there being that sort of vibe in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've definitely, thought of ways that can create more of the odd world sort of type experience and having
Yeah,
fun with that and in ways that are yeah, just being creative again with how you can sort of take a done thing of a rocking up to a venue and you hand your ticket or show your ticket and you walk in and you stand in your spot and you watch the show. It's like people have gone through these motions a lot, especially if
yeah,
you're a big gig goer. It's like yeah, it all sort of starts to kind of somewhat feel the same. And I feel like there's room there to really mess with people a little bit and
yeah,
those fundamentals make them just like slightly tweaked. And I know there's only so much you can do when it's like not your venue, but I feel like if you can sweet talk the manager and I don't know, get some things in the toilets that are just like messing with people and stuff like that,
yeah.
just to like that's where my mind goes. It's like, yeah, beyond just like what happens on stage, like make the whole live
Experiential.
like experience like you're entering into a different kind of world for a second.
Yeah, I love that. That's a cool thing to think about as well. Like beyond the one performance, like something that they can kind of go away and be like, when I was at the bar, the drink came out, it was this. Like it's the
Yeah,
whole,
yeah,
yeah, that's fun. I like that.
yeah, yeah. So
Thinking
that's
big
kind of
picture.
yeah, big picture dream to kind of get to a point where we can do that on a worldwide scale, where it's just kind of known that that's the experience you come to expect,
Yeah.
and it's someone unexpected. What that's going to be.
Maybe we'll see how the response to the new album goes. Maybe when it's a top seller, everyone's into it, then you can go, well, people are into it. We've got the budgets now. Let's
That's
test
it.
the
Yeah,
format.
yeah,
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
Let's remove all the toilets, and now everyone has to, I don't know what, some
Wow.
futuristic form of a bathroom.
Sure. I don't know if yeah. Room in the bathrooms, you might have lost me on that one, but we'll see. Hey, I want to talk about new music because the response that we've seen from our end of things when we've covered the new songs has been so positive. How are you finding it on your end? Is it all looking great? Because it seems that way.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it does feel overwhelmingly positive. I mean, it's almost I'm like there should be a bit more negativity. Like I don't know.
You're
I'm
waiting for the
like this
needle to
is
drop.
yeah. I'm not. I'm like this is something's up here. Like is everyone conspiring against us? And all of a sudden it's just no. It is. It really is. It is what like amazing that the feedback so far from anyone that has heard the album and just even just the singles like people outside of the general scene as well. And I think that's always a really good indicator. It's that I've got people that are sort of popping out and shooting me messages and things just saying like, hey, like really loving the new singles, loving where everything's heading. My 5-year-old kid is loving it as much as I am, and all these kinds of things. It's just it's really reaffirming that you're on the right path and that we're sort of yeah doing everything that we possibly can. It's like now that it's been written and we're so confident in it and it's kind of going to be out there in a matter of weeks, it's like once that happens it's out of our hands, it's in the universe and we can kind of just let it be. But so far I don't think we could have asked for much more positivity in the lead up and the feedback, so stoked.
There's also something in that in the music that you've written. It's so exciting and fun, and this you've hit the nostalgia of new metal but made new in a way that no one else is really doing. And it's like there's a I don't how old are you?
I'm 31.
Okay, so you're even younger than I am. You hit this age of like for when I was in high school, this is the music that I was like, this is my vibe. And you
Mm.
brought this like that, but for the next generation. So I think it's understandable for people to instantly be like caught up in the excitement and fun of it. There's nothing you can't say anything negative because it just makes you feel good and excited. And it like, yeah, I think you guys have absolutely crushed it. With that being said, was that the
Thank you.
goal going into it to sort of be like, we want to encapsulate an error here, or were you just writing what you felt like and it just happened to kind of go towards that way?
There was a lot of intention behind this record. I mean, that like capturing that late 90s, early 2000s essence was at the core of what we were trying to do for sure. Um, it in ways, this album was a lot about returning to the roots of OG and having a full circle moment because a lot of a lot of the reason why we even started the band to begin with and playing heavy music and all these things and writing the music that we did in our sort of first EPs, first album is because of these artists and these bands and this type of sound that we all grew up on and loved and is
Yeah.
sort of at the core of our beings. And so that naturally came through at the start. And then Ocean Grove evolved over the years with album to album, and we sort of explored the territory of what we were capable of doing. And then when it came to this album, we sort of thought, you know what? Like that has always been at the core and the heart of Ocean Grove and us as individuals. It's something that when we've toured over the years, no matter where we find ourselves in the world, whether we're playing a hometown show or we're on the other side of the world, we found that the songs that have that OG groove and bounce and that new metal sort of underpinning were the songs that we enjoyed playing the most and that felt the
Yeah, cool.
most fun and the most engaging and just the most authentic to us. So we just thought, you know, it's a bit of a no-brainer that we can just double down and down tune the guitars again and just write a really new metal 2000 style record, but like not just that, not just a sort of a nostalgia piece that's sort of trying to replicate what was already been done, but like taking the best parts of that era, taking the best parts of what we have known to do as Ocean Grove and fuse it with something that's looking forward. So very much it's taking the best of the past and looking forward to the future and combining those two and creating something that a new generation can be exposed to. And this new generation of kids can go, wow, like what is this new sound that I've never heard before? And have their parents be like, oh, let me sit you down, kid. And,
Dude, that's
you know,
exactly what I was saying. I listened to the album. I've listened through it quite a few times, but I listened the other day with my wife and we're driving, and I was like, "Does this sound like anything to you?" She's like, "No, I've never heard anything like this." And I was like, "Okay,
yeah,
you
cool.
you you didn't listen to any of that." And I was trying to explain, and I was doing exactly that, except instead of with my child, to my wife. But explain like that like little riff there that has such like a Linkin Park influence, and then you can hear like this is very Limp Bizkity here, and you can hear elements of these bands and where you've kind of paid tribute but done it in your own way. I think that's so cool. And as you said, like having people being able to show that to the next generation or that haven't ever heard it and maybe discovering it for the first time. That's a really
Yeah,
fun
for
thing.
sure. 100%. I mean, I think it's unfortunately a genre and a world of music that probably has a few too many negative connotations associated with it. And
Sure.
I guess it feels part of our honor to bring a lot more of a perspective, a positive perspective towards heavy music in general, but also, these styles of music that there's so much gold there and there's so much fun and yeah, I just think it's such uncharted territory for a lot of music listeners that we hope that yeah, we can kind of introduce a lot of people to the enjoyment of this sound.
Yeah, I love that. We found that there seems to be more blurred lines when it comes to what people are willing to like accept now. Like you said, like new metal has some like negative connotations based on, I think, more with the image of new metal, what people think of when they think of that. But like even like
Yeah.
bands like Nickelback are no longer getting the hate that they were for a while. I think people are accepting them. Do you think that that's something that's changing in your eyes as well? That like people are willing to accept all forms of music and be like, oh, we judge these people too harshly, or like we got on the band train just because it was cool to hate on them. Is that something you see
Mm.
happening, or like, I don't know? I look at the response to Limp Bizkit playing Good Things last year, and like there was a lot of people that were really into that.
Yeah, yeah. I look, I think it's an amazing thing. I think it's it's been certain artists leading from the front and showing that collaborations and the sort of fusing of different worlds is not only possible but a very cool thing. Seeing Beyonce do a country album or Post Malone
Yeah,
do a country album or these types of things or your MGKs of the world, blah blah blah. It's like the fact that these bigger stars are venturing out and doing different genres themselves and being like, no, just because we do our one thing doesn't mean that that's like what you need to like prescribe to. Like you can listen to a whole bunch of different shit and it can be just as cool or cooler than you've ever, it could
Yeah,
become your new favorite thing that you never even thought that you needed. So I think because of those examples, this next generation of music listeners are very much becoming more open-minded to just what's possible and viable in music. And by that token, I think it's opening everyone's minds just to accept whatever comes their way that's new from an artist that they don't know. And so I think it puts us in a very yeah, really a really good position to release something like this that hopefully can expand out and reach a much wider audience. And even though it's on paper, maybe not as like commercially viable as some other stuff that we've done. In other ways, I'm like, it almost feels more commercially viable because we're just like fully committed to this sound, and we
yeah.
know that like as long as we're being authentic and kind of confident in what we're doing and knowing that no, this has mass appeal, that like it will catch on, that it does have that sort of potential for a groundswell to occur, and I'm really excited by that.
Was there any fear or like pressure to going towards, because you hear bands be like, "Oh, I love you," like people be like, "I love your old stuff. I miss them when they sounded like this." And as you said, you've kind of gone back to where the like the down tune side of things where you started originally. Was there any fear of like doing that, then all of a sudden you'd be alienating a newer audience you'd grown, or was it just like, no, we need to do this for us, so we're just gonna do it?
Um, I guess we've coming into this record, we felt like we had nothing to lose. Yeah,
Cool.
it felt like we had gone to the extremity of exploring that already, of going, okay, we've taken the journey from being a very kind of heavy hardcore metalcore band with our sort of first EP, blah blah blah, and kind of moving through the genres and developing and evolving and sort of eventually releasing songs that you could hear on essentially pop radio.
Yeah.
And finding all that time that like really no matter kind of what we did, it didn't really nudge the needle that much. It was
Okay.
like at the end of the day, what people are going to be after with Ocean Grove is like us doing the very best thing that is us, not us doing the very best thing that society demands or that the current trends demand. And so that was a really reassuring feeling to be like, as long as we're just doing what feels good to us, and as I said earlier, that came to us, that feeling of returning to the roots of Ocean Grove and that new metal Ocean Grove groove and bounce that people know and love is like that's what we know and love, and that's what we do better than anything else. So as long as we're doing that and being authentic to ourselves, that like that's going to be the best thing for Ocean Grove in our future. And so there was just this deep sense of confidence leading into this album that like no matter what we do beyond this point, we want this album to be just the very best thing that we can create as a collective, something that represents Ocean Grove more wholly than anything has before. And that can be sort of that, yeah, that signature sound that we can always look back on and be like, we did that. And no matter what happens beyond this point, like that'll forever be the reference point of like classic Ocean Grove. And so
Yeah, cool.
with that intention in mind, it was just so easy to just churn out these songs and be like, yeah, like this is it. This is Ocean Grove to a T, and we should have the utmost confidence in that.
I love that. You touched on something then, which I was having this conversation with Johnny last night. You talk about like this is classic. This is the album that people go, yeah, that's quintessential. This is us. Do you have like what are those albums for you that go, this is that, this is like my go-to album that I can put on at any stage and it's quintessential to this band, whether it be new metal, whether it be pop, whether it be country. What's do you have any of those albums that you look at being like that's like for me, I have that's like Death Cab for Cutie. I go Plans. It for me is like one of my all-time favorite albums. It's like quintessential Death Cab. It's done so well, and I can put that on any time and be like, if I want to show what that band sounds like, that's what I would put on for them. Do you have
Mm,
any like that that you
yeah.
listen to all the time and you're like, that's my reference point?
Yeah, in a world of new metal, I guess Hybrid Theory, Linkin Park comes to mind as like that. Okay,
Yeah.
quintessential. One of my favorite bands is The War on Drugs, and
Oh,
a,
yeah.
a deeper understanding. I feel like, you put that on, it's like that's The War on Drugs. Like that's like them to a T. And then what else? I mean, thinking outside the box, like.
Okay, how about this? Do you have what's one album front to back? It can be like dead or alive, whatever state the band's in, that you would be
Mhm.
like, yeah, I want to see that album played front to back.
Mm. For some reason, Daft Punk comes to mind.
What album?
Um, it'd have to be Random Access Memories. That just feels like that is like if I was to see that start to finish in a venue like the Forum, with a bunch of mates, I just feel like that would just be such a killer
Yeah,
experience. I've seen M83 at the Forum, with Luke, and we still to this day say like that was one of the best gigs that we've ever seen, and that
so
it
good.
really
Yeah.
was. It was amazing, and that just makes me think like, ooh,
Have you seen that Alive
Daft Punk would
documentary, the
be.
Daft Punk?
No, I haven't.
Oh, dude, it's at like one of the festivals. Like it might be Tomorrowland or one of those, and it's just
Mm,
one. They're phenomenal musicians, but just the
hmm
vibe of it. Like I can imagine in like a forum style venue that's like big but not crazy big. God,
Yeah.
that's a great call. Not what I expected, but I really like it.
Yeah, I reckon that would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, that is cool. How do you guys
Yeah.
go in terms of like the cohesion of tastes in the band of being like, and said you went with Luke and saw MA3. Are you guys all
hmm
pretty on par with like your musical taste, or do you have things that you really separate on? And does that help with like the songwriting process of bringing inspirations?
Yeah, no, bang on. I think that's definitely one of the things that contributes to the variety of sounds that you sort of see in here with Grove music. It's on this album especially, I think you can actually identify where those crossovers happen, even within songs and sort of even lyrically. Lyrically, I think that's one aspect of Ocean Grove that's always been really intriguing for me, is that we'll take a song midway through it being written, and there'll be a few people in the room that have either contributed lyrics or are, in the motion of contributing lyrics in that present moment. And we'll have a general idea of where the song is going and the sort of general theme. Um, but we won't ever sacrifice um, like the sound or the quality of the song for the sake of having one particular lyricist or one particular sort of line of thought, if that makes sense. So in certain songs, there'll be a verse and sort of a pre-chorus heading in one direction lyrically and maybe even sonically as well. And then once it hits sort of the chorus moment or post-chorus, all of a sudden, if you're attuned to it enough, you recognize sort of a change in voice and a change in almost style. And it kind of feels like, hang on, that I thought things were sort of heading in one direction. Now all of a sudden it's heading into another. And that's sort of pretty intentional on our part, not to try and make things so linear,
Yeah.
because we know that each person who's contributing are coming from a different place and do have different influences and styles and appreciations for different things, and minds think in somewhat different ways. So we really enjoyed that aspect, that we do all have a bit of a different standpoint with all of this, and there's 4 or 5 of us often contributing on the one song, and there isn't just one sole songwriter. And that really helps with this sort of experimentation that is really at the core of what Ocean Grove does. We sort of lap up this idea of being like, collaboration within the band.
Yeah.
We don't need to necessarily branch out and have, these ghost songwriters come in and write riffs or whatever, and have people outside of Ocean Grove contribute to give us that sort of zest. It's like we've got enough within what we're doing, like for days, to be
Yeah.
able to have enough to experiment with. So Yeah, I think it's a really great thing. We all obviously love heavy music, but all have our own sort of songs and albums and bands that we grew up on and our own reference point, and it makes it so interesting when we're in the studio.
That being said, how does it go when you're like picking the track list? Like, did you write just like the tracks that are on there and that was it, or was there any others you had to cut? And how does that process go, and who gets the final say?
Yeah, I mean, we we tend to not overwrite an album too much, like because we produced with Sam, our drummer. He he's obviously at the helm of everything, and he's in the sort of control seat from start to finish, and he can he can write not only drums but guitar and a lot of melody. So when we're in the studio, that we've got a foundation of a few song ideas that are already there, and it's our job to kind of develop those and take those to a point that are in a sort of a somewhat finished state. And all the while, if whether we're there or not, Sam's tinkering away, writing layers, putting in little samples, doing all these little things in the background. And then next time we arrive, he's like, "Here, I've done this, I've done that," and he'll show you
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
everything that's kind of happened. And it's really, we're super fortunate to have the producer be a member of the band because he's so much more invested than someone that would just be doing it for, just a
oh,
paycheck and
yeah,
looking at the clock being like, sweet, 9 to 5, another day done type thing. It's like for us, we can rock up and go from midday through till 4 a.m. in the morning if the juices are flowing and the vibe is good. And so in terms of culling songs, it doesn't necessarily, it's happening in real time. Like it doesn't like happen in a sense of,
yeah.
okay,
Okay,
yeah, we've written and recorded 15 songs in the studio and now we've got to cut it down to 11 or 12. It's like, if there's a song that's not quite working, or we feel like we could almost blend two songs together or whatever, we have that freedom and that liberty and the time. There's no time pressure, there's no money pressure to kind of make those creative executive decisions on the fly, and backtrack and whatever if we need to. So yeah, there isn't too much of that. And I think when it comes to sort of the crunch like end of things, we tend to all be in the studio sort of just confirming and being like, yeah, this will definitely be on the album. And we almost know where it will be on the album too. Like things are
oh,
sort
that's
of
cool.
written in a way where we're like, okay, Ocean Grove very much likes to write an album as an album, not just write songs and then piece it together. It's like there's a vision, and once one song comes in, it's sort of like that really feels like that would pair nicely with this song. And then before you know it, the pieces start to come together, and a story starts to form, and a start to finish kind of journey is sort of the end product.
With writing it from the purpose of being an album, like a listening experience, how does that go when it comes to things like getting playlisted and stuff like that? Is that a consideration? Because that's obviously such a big way now through like the algorithms of Spotify and Apple Music and stuff to help drive bands forward and to expand their reach. Is that something that is a consideration, or do you guys go, we just write the album we want and that's on the label to help with that side of thing or management or whatever it is?
There are industry tips and tricks and things that we've been sort of shown over the years of like, if you use certain words, if you sort of write to a certain BPM, all these types of things that will sort of increase your chances of, say, yeah, getting a like I don't know, a TV show or whatever.
Yeah.
It's these types of things that certain industry folk are looking for, and it has to kind of be within those limits. And obviously, just instinctually, we're never gonna kind of release anything that's so far gone that
Yeah.
someone's gonna sit there and be like, "Hang on, like this is really whack." Like, there's a line and a boundary to be drawn, but within that, I think on this album, we haven't paid too much attention to that. Again, it's sort of just been this understanding and this confidence that like let's not try and do the album that people want to hear. Let's do the album that like we want to perform live and that
Yeah, cool.
we want to represent Ocean Grove, and then let that confidence and bravado sort of like come through the music rather than here's this perfect package that anyone can use. It's
And I
like,
feel like with that,
no,
it means you're writing stuff that's probably going to get more likely to get that because it has authenticity. And like Fly Away, for example, that song I can hear
mm,
you playing on a TV series or something. It has like a really fun energy there that's
mm,
intrinsically you guys, but also lends itself towards that. So yeah, I think that makes sense.
totally, totally. Yeah. So again, just got to sort of, yeah, back ourselves in knowing that like the best thing that we can do is just write Ocean Grove, right to the best of our ability and what represents us. And hey, if the next Stranger Things want to pick up Fly Away as their opening theme song, bring it on.
Just did that little 80s synthwave version of it, the Redux.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Have you got a favorite song personally on the album? Currently, I know most
Uh,
people they go, well, at the moment I'm really loving this, but it changes every day.
mm, yeah. Uh, I think it's hard to not look past Last Dance. You just released that as a single, and
Yeah,
I think for me, for all of us, really, that's a song that we've tried and attempted at for all of our career and gotten there in a lot of ways, but never really quite captured the essence of what Last Dance has. And so it's really for me, it's really exciting imagining performing that song live and
cool.
just knowing that yeah, that's sort of an outlier on the album. And I have really I love the whole album. There's so many others that I'd talk about at length, but I guess Last Dance is a song that I am incredibly proud of and something that I think I could just show my 5-year-old nephew and then show a grandparent, everything in between, and be like, this is something that Ocean Grove does. Like
Yeah,
this
cool.
is what we do, and just know that yeah, beyond and I don't love it more than the others because of this, but it does have, I feel like that universal appeal, that universal sort of theme, talking about, love and death. Like it's very much at the core of us as human beings and our experience on this planet and sort of captures our little perspective of sort of positivity in the space of something that's sort of dark and depressing. And I think that very much captures what Ocean Grove is all about, sort of bringing that sort of light and positivity to a
Yeah,
world that's kind of down in the dumps a little bit.
that repeated line, the hold that feeling now, maybe we can dance together. I really like that. That's a really strong, like
Mm,
unifying line, which is cool. So,
totally,
so
totally,
you might have
yeah.
just answered that my next question, but is that the song that we're most excited to play live? Have you played that live yet?
Mm. We haven't. No, we haven't debuted that song live yet. Another song will probably take that cake, actually, even though that's going to be a really beautiful moment in the set where sort of I can imagine it's been fun actually looking at our current set list and be like that song, which we've sort of given a really good run, like say an Ask to the Anthem, uh, we'll sort of we'll put that to the side for a little bit. That's had a really good run. It's not going to be the last time that we play it, but now it's time to bring in this new song that will really match that
Yeah,
energy,
cool.
if not elevate it. And for me and for all of us, that song is Stunner.
Oh
So
yeah,
even though this didn't appear as a single, it very like it really had the potential to be a single. And we left it off because like we kind of want to have a couple of moments of surprises still for people who listen to the album. And you don't want people to have that experience of listening to an album, getting through to track 4, being like, oh, I've heard the first few singles, sweet, and then it kind of just like falls off a cliff. It's
that
like,
was my
no, we want.
exact experience with Stunner. I was listening through and I was like, oh, like that instantly piqued my interest because yeah, you hear the singles a bunch of times and you've replayed them. That was
Yeah,
the well done. You did the thing that you meant to do. It happened.
yeah, great, great. So that was the idea and that's the intention. But yeah, live, I think Stunner has that, whereby Last Dance captured that essence of sort of the sort of emotional ballad that we've always tried to do. I feel like Stunner captures that like OG new metal bounce
Yeah,
like
cool.
better than any other song I can imagine that we've done. And so the day that we get to play that song, hopefully it's at some big festival somewhere. Just getting the whole crowd the moment that chorus kind of hits, just seeing the whole crowd jumping to that perfect sort of bounce tempo
Yeah.
is super exciting.
Ah, dude. Well, man, I'm so pumped for you guys. I can't wait for the album to be out for people to be able to share this experience and then finally get to see it live. You guys have done, I think, the best thing in your careers. I know the career is continuing, but
Thank
as you
you.
said, I think this is like intrinsically you guys. So well done. You crushed it.
Thanks, Nathan. Yeah, it really feels like I can kind of agree with that, like from my heart. It's this is the best thing that we have done as a collective, something that we can hang our hat on for sure. And yeah, I'm equally, if not more excited to share it with the world. And yeah, really wave the flag for Australian heavy music, because things are
Heck
just on the
yeah.
up, and it
Yeah, dude.
feels really amazing to be part of this wave.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, you're in good company with everyone else. So
Yeah,
yeah, we're stoked to be along for the ride with you.
hell yeah.
All right, brother. Well, we'll leave it there, but I look forward to seeing you at a show very soon.
Yep, you bet. Thanks for having
All
me,
right.
Nate.
Thanks, dude.
Catch up.